You're in the WOR Sports Zone.
In for Pete, here's Sal Licata.
Earthlings, we have now taken over your radio.
You know, there's a full line of calls up, and I don't think it's because of the T-shirts that we give away on Tuesday. It is my honor to welcome in Mike Francesa in studio to the program. Mike, I cannot thank you enough for taking a few minutes to come in here. It's great to see you.
Hi, Sal. How are you?
Yeah, I'm all right. Well, more importantly, how are you? How has it been? It's been about 2 months.
Yeah.
How bad do you miss it?
I miss it. You know, it's there's days where there's some things that kind of get you going the way you'd like to yell at somebody. I find somebody to yell at, around the house. Yell at Roe, something, depending. But that happens. There's days, but there's also days where, it's sunny and 80 and you're in Florida and there's a lot of green grass on a golf course,
That is one thing. It's February 13th. What the heck are you doing in New York?
Yeah, we go back and forth, so we'll be back again. And the weather for a while after Christmas, the weather was very cold in the country. It was actually freezing in Florida. I was in Palm Beach when it was 40 degrees. I mean, so we did not have a good snap of weather there for a while after the holidays. So there wasn't a lot going on there weather-wise anywhere, as a matter of fact. You couldn't find good weather in this country. But right now, sunny and 80. As a matter of fact, it's going to be very warm here the next couple of days, but it's going to be 80 in Florida. So looking forward to that, getting back soon. So how are things? I've never been in the station before, I don't think.
Not bad, right?
It's a nice place. It really is.
Yeah, it's not bad. I found a new home here. I love it at OR. It's especially nice tonight. Mike, I can't believe this. The calls are lit up already. 800-321.
Tell them to wait. I'm looking forward to talking to the callers. I haven't taken a call. This is the first kind of show like that. I've done a couple of different podcasts with Bill Simmons.
Right.
I've done a show here and there, nothing locally. And, it's the first one I've done locally, and I wanted to do it when, after the day part, so I wasn't on against any of the shows because I didn't want to do that because I didn't think that was right. So I said after 7 o'clock. So I was in the neighborhood, and actually I didn't know where the neighborhood was. Actually, I said to Sal and to Bob Boots, I said, I'm going to be in a meeting on Madison Avenue, so tell me where the studio is. I didn't realize it was so close to the Fan.
Yes, right down the block.
I didn't know you were right down here, so I didn't know that you guys were neighbors.
Right down the block. 4 years, I've been pouring my heart out, giving passionate opens, trying to do good radio. Nobody's calling, for goodness sake. Mike walked in the studio, phone's lit up.
Sal, what did you expect?
No, I expected it. That's why I'm thankful you're here. Has there been one moment?
You've been calling me for 2 months to come on. I mean, I have to admit that. Sal was persistent. So was Bob Boots. He has texted me about 100 times. So, and I said, I'll think about it. Finally, I said, you know what, Sal, I saw somewhere that you were going to be on for 2 weeks straight.
Right.
That this was a very important stretch for you, in your career and everything. So I said, Sal, would you like to do it today? I'm going to be in the city. And you said yes, so here I am.
Yeah, and believe me, I greatly appreciate it, just the same way you helped get my start many years ago, as I was saying before, about 12 years ago. Has there been a specific moment in sports, whether it's after the Super Bowl, the Eagles, whatever it may be, over the last 2 months where you're like, I wish I had a show today?
Oh, more than one. There's been a lot of them. So, I mean, there's been some crazy finishes, and, I can think of some games, the way they were officiated, and some of the finishes that I saw. The Super Bowl was a strange ball game. I mean, it really was on so many levels. I mean, if you had ever told the Pats that they would have 613 offensive yards, not give up a special teams touchdown, not give up a touchdown when they were on offense, and lose the game, they would not believe it. I mean, who would ever believe that you could have that much offense and lose? I mean, that was an amazingly inept performance by their defense. And the thing that startled me the most, everyone gets into the coverages and gets into who didn't play and who did play in the secondary. The thing that amazed me the most about the Pats that day, how many tackles they missed. They missed so many tackles where they had guys behind the line of scrimmage and they would turn them loose for enormous gains. I was shocked, but I give the Eagles credit for this. They were prepared. They were aggressive. They never stopped being aggressive. They understood they had to be aggressive, and they had the right mindset in the game, which I thought was important.
And don't you think that Peterson was not only aggressive but smart? Look back to last year, obviously, with the Falcons blowing that lead.
Oh, that was just dumb. If you had locked the coaches in a room in the end of the third quarter, they win that game going away.
Yeah, that's exactly right. It's driving me nuts, obviously, as a Falcon fan. But Peterson, the complete opposite. Not only was he aggressive and gutsy with some of those calls, but knew when to be smart and aggressive.
Had no choice but to be aggressive. And listen, I didn't know he was going to call that play on fourth down, obviously. and it was a wonderful play. Whether it was procedure or not, it still was a wonderful play. He knew that his defense couldn't stop him. I mean, and that's how he played the game. Like, we can't stop him. And I firmly believe that if Brady doesn't turn the ball over with 2 minutes left, they win. They score. Now, whether they win or not, I don't know, because they might have left some time on the clock with Brady, and their defense was that bad. The amazing thing was the Pats in a lot of parts of that game were not the Pats. The way they even ran the play out of the end zone after they got the ball on the kick return is so unpatriot-like, even to make that mistake and start him on a 9-yard line and take time off the clock. That was so unpatriot-like. They made a lot of very strange moves in that game.
Missing extra points, missing field goals.
Very much not like them. It was not their day, that's for sure.
What was the other or other moments that you've had? You were on when McAdoo got fired, obviously. You talked plenty about Odell.
I had my say about Eli, absolutely.
What else have...
I haven't missed much. It's funny, I sent Shermer a note and said, I think you're the first coach who's coming to this town in 30 years that I didn't welcome to town. And I know him, so I sent him a note and said, so I want to welcome you to town. He sent me a nice note back. I won't say what he said, but it was weird not being there when some of this stuff happens. It's been so. It's almost to me like, breathing to get up and do this stuff. Oh, today you do this. Today you have the Giants. They do this. Yankees have a new manager. Mets have a new manager. You got to go in and do it, and that's it. You're just so used to it that it becomes like your everyday routine. So it's very different. I'd been on the air for so long, every day for so long. So getting used to it was a little different. But there's some things about it being off I've really liked, and some things about it that I've missed. There's no question. And, I need to talk to somebody. So sooner or later, I'm going to have to decide to go talk somewhere. Now, where it's going to be, I can tell you honestly, right here, right now. I've had a ton of meetings. I've met with a bunch of people. I still don't know today what decision I'm going to make. I haven't made it yet because I don't have to make it yet. I have not made a decision. I will work. And I don't know in what form it's going to be. There's a lot of different options. Some of it's really new stuff. Some of it's more old line stuff. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do yet. I really don't know.
Two-part question. Are we talking TV, radio, and are you hiring? Just kidding. I'm very happy.
Yes, and yes.
Yes, send your resume. Maybe I will.
What do you mean? Maybe you will. You already sent it.
We don't. No, I'm very happy at SNY no more. So you don't.
That's not. Listen, I know you. You're never very happy anywhere.
You don't. No, I've come a long way since the old days.
Please.
You don't have a specific medium picked out. Is it? Because I know everything now. You've talked about this being digital and podcasts or things like that. It's unrealistic.
I think they're all. I think now everything works into everything else. I think it's a big circle now. So I think you're going to do some over-the-air stuff. You're going to do some stuff that is digital. You're going to have secondary and tertiary use of your content. You're going to be involved with websites and apps and podcasts. It's all part of the same game now. I think that's just part of how you sell content and present content now. And, that's what I am. I'm a content provider. That's what I am. That's what I do. So, there's a market for that. I've had a lot of people offer me things. Like I said, I'm still kind of deciding which is best. I'm looking forward to getting back and doing some stuff. I still think I have a lot to say. I miss the callers. I haven't had anybody to yell at in a while, so that's why I'll take a couple of calls tonight, see if I can yell at somebody. I haven't yelled at anybody in a while, so I need to do that.
Now I'm sure you'll find one or two. We're talking about Mike Francesa, 800-321-0710, the number to call.
How about you? What's new?
Yeah, nothing. It's to say, I'm enjoying life. I've been thankful that I have a career at this point. We all know how that could have went off the rails many years ago, but I'm getting more work here at OR. I'm having fun at SNY, which is great. So everything's good in that realm. But I'm still a student of the game, right? I love sports talk radio. I grew up listening to you and Dog. We talked about it before. But how about the state of sports talk? You see these dopes in Boston, whether it's one or another, taking shots at Tom Brady's kid and other guys doing racist impressions. And it's not just them. This has happened, it seems, quite a bit. I don't want to get into any specific shows or anything like that.
Right.
Overall, for one of the guys who started, if not the guy who started along with Dog in the number one market, obviously the number one show, how do you view today's state of sports talk radio?
I don't think it's changed, Sal. I just think there's more of it. I think the hardest part now for somebody it's easier now to work than it was when we started. Because there's so many different places now to work. There's so many. Anyone can do a podcast.
Right.
Anyone can do a show off a website. Anyone can do programming now, and most people do. I mean, there's an enormous amount of people actually behind microphones, and therein lies the problem, and that's why you get a lot of the stuff you just highlighted, because the thing that is the hardest now is to be noticed, is to break through. You can get on the air. You can get something, down, or get on, your microphone on, or you can get something on tape, or get something into the game. But it's very hard to break through now. It's very hard to start in this realm unless you're a brand. If you're like me and you're a brand. Right. You start on third base because you're a brand. Everyone knows you, and you don't have to sell yourself, and everyone knows you, and you get recognition that way, and people are going to listen to it. The hardest part for somebody starting out now, and that's why you get some of the strange behavior, is they're looking to get noticed, and people do dumb things to get noticed, and that's what it is. They're trying to break through. They're trying to establish themselves. They're trying to make a name, and that's why you're getting the erratic behavior even more so. We've always had, listen, as long as there's people talking in the microphones, there's going to be dumb people talking in the microphones. Okay, that's all there is to it. Okay?
Just try not to be. I'm trying not to be one of them.
I mean, well, you have been at times, so I mean, we know that. But
most of my issues were off the air, for the record. But yes.
So the bottom line is, that's always going to happen, and I think there's a pressure to get noticed. And that's why you get so much crazy stuff.
All right, you mind if we take a quick break and get to some
you're in charge,
yeah,
Sal.
All right, well, I'm not in charge. Hey, regardless of what chair I'm sitting in, you're sitting in the power chair.
Listen, wherever I sit is the power chair.
That's exactly right. Mike Francesa on the Voice of New York. We'll be back with your calls, 800-321-0710. Sal Licata in for the honeymooning. Pete McCarthy on the Sports Zone, the Voice of New York, 710 WOR.
Now,
you're in the WOR Sports Zone.
Filling in for Pete, here's Sal Licata.
We're, of course, joined in studio by Mike Francesa, 800-321-0710. Real quick before we get to the calls.
Where's Pete?
Yeah, Pete is in his honeymoon in Australia.
Really?
Just got married. By the way, did you know that I got married?
No.
No, I did not invite you because I specifically didn't want to bother you. And
when did you get married? I would have gone.
I appreciate you saying that, but it was Memorial Day weekend.
Still, I would have gone.
Well, if you would have come in, then I missed out because I was thinking there's no way he's going to come, and I don't want you to think it's a money grab.
Where did you get married?
I got married in Long Island. You ever go to Insignia Steakhouse?
Yes.
Yeah, it's a great place. So we got married May 28th.
I would have gone.
Memorial Day weekend. And again, I didn't want you to think it was a money grab because I know a lot of people invited you for that specifically.
Well, yeah, you just say no and send the money.
That's right, exactly. So I'm thinking he's not coming anyways. Memorial Day
I would have gone to your wedding.
Well, it's more, you know what? I'd rather have you here than the wedding. A couple of things.
Who'd you marry? Which one of those girls? I'm trying to remember.
Mike, don't get me in trouble. You actually met her at McMonagle's wedding.
I did?
I was. You probably don't
What's her
remember.
name?
We saw Marina is her name. Yeah, the Indian girl. Okay. One of. Anyway. So, yes, I'm happily married now. Everything going well with you? Your kids love having you around now?
Well, I think so. Some days they probably like to have me, and some days they say, yeah, Dad, don't you have somewhere to go? I know, I was very annoying the other day, and Ro walked in and said, why don't you go to the city for a couple of days? I said, no, I think I'll stay here. Said, great.
5.5 hours a day doing the radio every day. It's a long time, right, to not be working. Be home.
Julio's outside.
Oh,
that's it.
I saw him recently. We went to see your show at the, what was it called, the Manhattan?
Telecenter.
The Telecenter, yeah.
Yes.
Boots and I went. Before we get to the calls, Mike, two things I want to talk about. One, and I know eventually a call is going to ask it, so I might as well ask
What's
it.
that?
Have you been listening to, the new shows at WFAN? Any
not
thoughts
a lot.
Okay.
I haven't heard a lot, to be honest with you. And I'm being honest, I wouldn't comment anyway.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say anything because if I said something really wonderful, no one would believe it. They'd say, oh, he's got to say that anyway. And I would never say anything bad. So I really haven't heard it very much, either one. I've never been a morning listener. Main reason being, I get up with my kids in the morning. Ro's a very early riser. The kids go to school very early, and I always get up with them and go to the school bus with them. I have since they started school, and I still do. So I spend that time with them. And then in the morning, I like to watch CNBC because I'm a big stock guy.
Weren't you on there recently?
Yes, I was.
And
I
what's
did
up with the stocks?
Well, they're back doing okay. I mean, they had a little correction last week, but everything's okay. But I like doing that, and Mons loves doing that too. I got Mons involved, and I got all the guys over there involved, and so I like doing that. And I usually do that till about 10:30, 11 o'clock. So that's what I do in the morning. And the afternoon, I've heard it a couple of times, but not very much. So I wouldn't say anyway. But I really, you know what? People have to give them some time. No matter what their opinion is, they got to give them some time. And really, they won't be what counts anyway. What will count is ratings and revenue. It's a business. Whether you like something or don't like something, as a listener, you have every right. You can participate. You can listen. You can call, but it's going to survive or not survive based on revenue and ratings. And that's going to be the answer. So, 6 months in, they'll take a look at those, see where they are. That's how it'll work.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you. I wasn't even going to, bring it up, but obviously a call was going to bring it up, and I figured I had to ask you. So, that whole thing there. Yeah. So good to get that out of the way. Yeah. The other one, and this to me, I've always felt this, and tell me if I'm accurate. Working for you, specifically on your show, I've always tried to draw the analogy of it would be the equivalent to playing for Bill Parcells. And then I watched the two Bills. Yes. And even more so, I'm thinking, my goodness, I played for Parcells for all those years. Did you watch that show? What are your thoughts on the Parcells?
I did watch it. It would have been nice if they both could tell the truth about some of those stories, but they're never going to do that.
Do they hate each other in reality?
No.
Okay.
No. They've had their moments, but they don't hate each other. And recently, Coach and I, as people know, haven't been as close. Although Ro and I went and had dinner with him. And we were over his house over the Christmas holidays. So,
wow!
Yeah, so I sat with him, and he's the one who told me about the two Bills because I knew it was. I just heard about it once, and he told me about it because he'd already done it. So I saw him over the holidays. He's doing fine. They're fine now, and listen, he at this stage, I'm sure, is very proud of his legacy, and Bill Belichick is an enormous part of his legacy. And has his own legacy now. And Parcells has had tremendous coaching tree with guys winning Super Bowls, whether it's Belichick or Coughlin or Sean Payton. He's had other good coaches like Zimmer. So the Parcells coaching tree has been very, very impressive.
You think Parcells would still play in today's game? The way sports has evolved, I know it's gotten really soft.
Ditka told me he couldn't coach. Ditka told me that he couldn't coach now. I think Parcells could coach now, but he would have to change his ways because the player is just not as tolerant anymore and will not take the level of prodding and the level of pushing that a Parcells delivered. Parcells is the single greatest motivator I have ever seen, not just in sports, in any walk of life. I've never seen anybody who could motivate anybody. I don't care what you do, he could motivate you to do it better. He is just the single most impressive motivator. He can push anybody's buttons better than anybody I've ever seen. Belichick is from a cerebral standpoint, is a smarter coach than Bill is. I think Bill's a better talent provider. I think he's got a keener eye for players than Belichick does. I think Belichick, if you wanted to build a game plan, would be better than Parcells, but I think Parcells will motivate the players better. So I think they each have their strengths, and I think the Belichick-Parcells relationship and success story is very much akin to what you have with Bob Knight and Krzyzewski. They have the same relationship. They were taught the same way, and the pupil has had more success than the mentor. Krzyzewski more than Knight, Belichick more than Parcells, because they both have been able to stay in one place for a long period of time, which is something Knight and Parcells were not very good at. Belichick and Krzyzewski have been great at it, and that's why they've been so successful.
Yeah, it's great stuff. I loved it, and like I said, I couldn't help but think of you during that whole thing. All right, 800-321-0710. Let's go to the phones we go. Joe is in Hershey. Joe, you're on the Voice of New York 710 WOR. Come on.
Mike, I just have to say that you were the heartbeat of New York for all those years. I listened to you from the beginning right up until the end. If it wasn't for you and Dog, I don't even think we'd be, having what we have now on the radio and stuff. So you really, not so much even sports, but just life in general, like when 9/11 hit. I mean, just so many things that, I got to just give you thanks for.
Well, thanks, Joe, very much.
And also, too, I'm a diehard Mets fan. I've called you several times.
Right.
I got a lot of scars. I had open heart surgery because of that team.
Right.
But anyway, you were very instrumental in getting Piazza, you and Dog, coming to the Mets. I have one question. What do you think? I don't see the Mets being a playoff contender this year, especially with the team they have assembled. They got a lot of hit and miss guys. Catching is horrible. I thought they would go out and get Lucroy.
They don't. Well, listen, we have a lot of callers waiting, so thanks.
Jeez, I mean, can you go on any longer, for goodness sakes?
Yeah, I'm just teasing him. I was just trying to give him a hard time. But listen, but you are right. He took long enough. But listen, the Mets are not on their best day. If everything works out, that team can compete for a wild card. It's not the most complete team. We know that. It's not the most complete team in the league. We know that. But if things broke right, they have enough players. That means Cespedes, who's not going to be playing golf this year, I've been told, will not play golf.
Wow.
So how about that?
They already said that mandate, no golf?
They haven't said it, but I'm telling you, will not play golf this year. Has promised the team he will not play golf during the season.
Wow.
Okay? You got that. Number one. Two, they're going to play Conforto in center when he's healthy. He'll probably miss the first month. I don't know if they'll keep Lagares, and not I know the Giants want Lagares. The Mets are interested in Panic, their second baseman. See if they can work something out there.
Even after Frazier?
Panic to play second base.
Right, but I'm saying, so what do they trade as Drubal? Maybe
no, I think they could trade Lagares. I think is possible.
Well, what do you do with Cabrera then? Just move him to the bench?
Yeah, let him play as a utility man. That's all. I mean, I know they like Panic a lot.
Okay.
I even know they kind of kicked the tires on Castro, the Mets. They liked Lucroy last year a lot. He didn't want to come here, as you know.
Right.
But last year, the information they got from the scouts was that he slipped a lot and that they shouldn't go get him. They like Realmuto, but I don't think they can get him.
Right. Well, now watch him go to the Nationals, and then they'll be in big trouble.
So I think the Mets aren't done yet, and I don't think anybody's done yet because there's so many guys out there who are going to be singing for their supper. So many players out there who are going to have to sign one-year deals. I mean, most likely, they're not going to be playing. There's not a lot of room left in those 40-man rosters for these guys. So There's a lot of free agents. A lot of them are going to have to take one-year deals. If I were one of those players, I'd take a one-year deal. That's what I would do.
Right.
I'd say, let me play for 1 year, and then I'll check out what's going on next year. Let me go have a good year somewhere, and then I'll get my money. So let me do that. I'm not talking about a guy who's on the high end. I'm talking about somebody who knows it's going to be tough getting on a roster. There's a lot of players who are pretty good players who aren't going to get on rosters right now. But I don't think the Mets are done yet. But I think the key is they have so many guys like Matz, who I heard before I was sitting here. And wasn't he a delight? Right? But I like Matz. I like his family, who I know. I like him. He's a good kid. He's just not a ball of laughs. I mean, that's all there is
Which
to
is
it.
fine if you go out there and pitch.
Yeah, he's just got to be healthy.
Right.
Harvey, let's be honest. There's no way this isn't Harvey's last year here because the Mets are never going to pay him if he has a big year. So this is his last year. The question is, can you have a big year and leave? I mean, that's really the question. Terry Collins told me that Syndergaard will win the Cy Young Award this year.
Wow. Okay.
So there's a prediction from him. He told me that this winter, that he thinks Syndergaard will win the Cy Young Award.
Okay.
They have two really good pitchers. We'll see if Callaway and Island was always going to be a really good pitching coach. Had some issues, obviously, but now he's here with Callaway. I don't know Callaway from a hole in the wall. Francona swears by him. I know that because I know Francona well, and he loves him. So we'll see. Listen, they need everything to fall into place. They need a couple of guys to have really big years who you're not counting on. They need guys to really, really have things just fall into place. It's going to be hard. There's no question. It's not going to be easy for the Mets. It's going to be very hard. Now, they just need a year where they just don't have any injuries. I mean, they're owed a year like that, but I don't know if they'll get it.
Right. They could use some luck. I mean, luck is a part of it,
They never get any luck.
Oh,
they
my
never
God.
get any luck.
800-321-0710. We'll take a quick break, come back with more of your calls. It's Mike Francesa with me, Sal Licata, filling in for Pete McCarthy. It's a lot to get to there. On the Sports Zone, the voice of New York, 710 WOR.
This is the WOR Sports Zone. Filling in for Pete McCarthy, here's Sal Licata.
Did you hear, Mike?
We're in the zone.
We're in the Sports Zone, baby, with Mike
Sal
Francesa.
Licata.
Yeah, I can't believe this. This is great.
Sal Licata.
I'm telling you, Mike.
I can tell you some Sal Licata stories, folks.
Oh,
boy,
no.
He'd curl your hair if Sal had any.
Honey, turn down the radio. But no, I've had great experience. I was telling her actually the other day, the private planes to the Super Bowl or spring training.
All right.
No,
I remember one night I took you guys home on the plane, and I never forgot this. And it was from the Super Bowl, and we hit some really bad turbulence.
Oh, dog!
And you guys were all like ashen colored and gripping the seats and praying on your knees.
Those planes are small.
And I looked over, and my wife was the coolest, calmest customer. She could have cared less. She was sitting there, and all you guys are like praying that we're going to land. We're getting hit this way. We're getting hit that way. You guys were terrified.
And I remember Dog banging his wedding ring on the thing. Dog was such a nervous flyer.
So were you.
Yeah, well, no,
I looked over, and my wife wasn't even, she didn't have a care in the world.
Now, remember there was one time, too, in Tampa, I think this was, where me, you, and Eddie were coming back from the Super Bowl, and they put us on one of these planes that was, like, we couldn't even fit on, and you were like, no, get the other one up here. I'm not getting on this one.
That little one. They said, we have to wait another hour. I said, wait another hour. I can't stand that little plane. Sorry.
We'll be delayed. Speaking of which, did you hear Dog got into it at Radio Row with David Deal?
No.
Apparently, Dog, you know how Dog, I mean, come on, in jest, joking.
I heard Radio Row was crowded.
All right, so
someone made the comment that I would have been upset about the surroundings, and that's not fair. I would have been very congenial in that setting.
But you never like going there anyway. I mean, come on, that's the best thing.
I would have hated Sal if they put me next to the Shake Shack. I mean, come on. You didn't go there to sit next to Chi-Chi's for a week.
Yeah, I didn't see how that was set up there, but I'm sure it wasn't great. But
because
I guess
the NFL doesn't care. Somebody probably gave him an extra $1.
Hang out at the mall. What is it? The Mall of America in Minnesota.
America.
So Dog, on one of his radio shows on Sirius, I guess they tried to get David Deal, who I think is an employee of Sirius and Fox, and they tried to get him on to talk about.
And who does the show at Malusis on
Sundays, taking it for you on NFL
Good
Now.
Guy, David Deal.
So, well, I thought so too, but then
what happened?
So Dog, in typical Dog fashion, they tried to get him on to talk about Eli. I guess it was when the benching.
Okay.
And this was the story that was reported. And then Dog wanted to get Deal on Tori's show, the show that I guess precedes Dog on the Mad Dog Radio.
Okay.
And Deal wouldn't come on, and then Dog goes on his rant on his show. David Deal, he can't give you 5 minutes. Who is he? And rips David Deal. So apparently at the Super Bowl, they happened to be at the same restaurant together, and here comes David Deal, an offensive lineman, walking over to call out Chris.
At the restaurant?
At the restaurant. Now, I don't get...
Anything happened? Was Dog wearing the mashed potatoes or something after that?
I don't think it was as friendly as an exchange as Dog would have liked to have had. He said that he didn't think Deal would punch him or anything, but I do think Deal probably went a little aggressive.
Oh, really? When he was hanging upside down?
Can you? None of that stuff happened on your watch, did it, Mike? Did anybody ever try to challenge you or anything? Oh, really?
A couple of players, yes. Yeah, I had a couple of guys.
I remember Shockey calling the newsroom once. That was a famous one.
Shockey just said that he hoped I died. That was all.
A nice guy. What's he doing these days?
Into a microphone. How dumb are you? I mean,
dumb.
Shockey wasn't dumb. He was dumber than a brick. I mean, and he had no career for a guy who had a brilliant talent. I mean, that's what unfortunately, that's what happens. And you got to watch that. If you have a great talent, you can't screw around like that. Those years go by as a football player so fast. Shockey messed up what should have been a great career because he was such a fool. And and he left, and they, away they went. They didn't miss a beat. He thought everything revolved around him. He was one. Derek Coleman got really one time. Anthony Mason threatened to basically bury me one night. Really? I wasn't worried about it. I mean, he didn't do anything. But I mean, he did. He was said, we were in Indiana. He was mad about something I said on the air about him. But I mean, that happens from time to time.
Okay, and it can't be. I mean, you got to say your opinion. These guys take it too seriously sometimes. 800-321-0710. Let's get back to the calls here. Jeff is in the Bronx. Jeff, you're on the Voice of New York 710 WOR.
Hey, Mike. Hey, Sal. How you guys doing this evening?
Good. What's happening?
Hey, quick Mike story, and then a couple Met question for you, Mike. Mike, I had the pleasure. A lot of people have the pleasure of running into you, but actually, the office I work for honored you. I don't know if you remember, for Italian Heritage at the Bronx Zoo. And Mike, let me just say, you took time. You were late to your own show to come and accept this award. So
I remember that. I remember that day. Yes, with the Bronx Borough president.
Yes, Ruben Diaz Jr.
Yes,
and it was a great
absolutely.
time. Everybody, and right before the last Thursday, you were on the air. We did a Throwback Thursday picture of the picture and you with the borough president.
Well, thank you. What's on your mind?
Hey, so Mike, you're in the power chair next to Sal right now, and
right.
Sal for the past 2 weeks.
I let Sal have the power chair. Really,
I offered it up.
I had to let him feel good. Well,
you're right next to him right now. Sal, for the past 2 weeks,
Right.
Sal, we love you.
Right.
You've been saying the Mets don't need to spend money. They've wasted money how many years in a row? They don't need another pitcher.
Well, Sal's off his rocker.
That.
You know that. I mean, listen, Sal, sometimes I don't know what Sal meant. He'll tell us now. Sal, what do you mean?
Oh, Mike, I do work for the home of the Mets, both SNY and WOR, so I got no.
So do you have to suck up to the
No,
Mets?
no, I don't. I'm just kidding around. But my point was that payroll...
Sal, I can't see you. I cannot see you not giving your real opinion.
No, and that is true. And
so when the Mets are dumber than bricks, you say it?
No, I say it. I've gotten in trouble before.
Yeah.
I've gotten called out before plenty of times for taking the Mets to task.
And the Mets, let's be honest, they could screw up a one-car funeral. I mean, we know that.
But my point, and I think this is what Jeff is alluding to, is that payroll has been a lazy narrative. It's not just about spending.
It's not just about
spending.
That's
my point.
It's not. It's so much more than that. It's getting the right guys. It's culture. I mean, bringing in a guy like Frazier, that's the kind of guy you want on your team. The guy can handle New York. He'll be good in the locker room. He will be a plus. He will be a good player, and he will help that team immeasurably. You got to get guys who want to play here. You got to get guys who understand how to play here. And then they have to figure out how not to have 15 guys on the disabled list at one time. And you know what? That has to change. Listen, they have been inept and they've been unlucky, and that's a bad combination. So maybe they do some luck.
And that was my point, too, about you can't just say, and I know they compare to the Yankees all the time, go spend $200 million. First of all, it's not realistic.
It's not going to happen.
And it doesn't add up to wins.
It doesn't.
And the other thing is, I would get more on them for the way that they've drafted in recent years. How come the Dodgers can churn out players left and right, and the Mets are giving you Brandon Nimmo and Matt Reynolds and Plawecki, and they haven't hit with those. So I think that's
the Mets have been in the playoffs twice in the last 3 years, and they've been in the World Series once in the last 3 years. That's not bad. The problem is the years that preceded it.
Right.
That was the problem. And this run that was built to be a good top-of-the-line 5-year run disintegrated like that. That's the problem, because some of these pitchers didn't show up. And let's be honest, Harvey was on the verge of superstardom, and now he's almost worthless. I mean,
hard to believe.
It is hard to believe. It really is.
Have you ever seen a fall as significant as that?
Yeah, I mean, we've seen a lot of them. Unfortunately, we see way too many of them. We see them all the time. But this is one that ranks with the big ones, because he was, before his first injury, remember, he's had 2 major injuries, but he was, before his first injury, he was on his way to being great. Not good, great.
The guy.
It is a shame what has happened to him. Now, listen, he's been a jerk at times, too. He hasn't treated people well. He hasn't been a good teammate. There's a lot of things about him that you can get on him about. But he's also been unlucky as heck. He really has.
Joe in the Bronx, you're up next on the Voice of New York, 710 WOR.
Hey, Sal, how you doing?
Good, what's up, Joe?
Great show. Hey, Mike, we miss you. We miss you so much,
Oh,
Mike.
Thank you. Appreciate it. I miss you guys, too. More than I thought I would. I miss all of you a lot. And you know what? I didn't know if I'd miss you guys as much as I do. I have to admit, I miss all of you a tremendous amount. I really do.
Wait, Mike, I wanted to ask you about this free agent snubbing stuff. Because that's what seems to be going on. I mean, Boris has, he has 15 clients,
right,
and none of them have been signed.
Right.
Now, do you think there's some sort of collusion going on?
Listen, it's hard to prove. It's more than a coincidence, okay? It's more than a coincidence. Boris has got to be quiet, because you know what? He can't make it about one agent. It doesn't work that way. But here's the deal. Clearly, they are resetting. First of all, there is a wave changing in baseball about who's valuable and who's not, because as the analytics become bigger in the game, value of players changes markedly. And what they are trying to do is they are trying to see if they can attack the sport roster-wise with fewer players who make premium dollars. That's what they're trying to do. They know they need the big star. They will always need the big star. They will always need the Kershaw. They will always need the guy who hits 50 home runs, the Trout. But if they can bring down the cost of the everyday player, even 20%, the savings is remarkable. And that's what they're trying to do. And they're doing it because they now are treating the players and looking at them differently. So they are revaluing, hey, this year, that free agent camp that they're opening, the Player Association's opening in Bradenton, is going to have a lot of unhappy guys in it. Because if you look right now, Go check out how many spots there are on these 40-man rosters. These guys are not going to get jobs, a lot of them. You're going to have a lot of name players out of baseball on opening day.
I can't believe the list of players, and the system is broken. First of all, the teams are getting smart. Second of all, the contracts that they give out, these 7, 10-year deals, they never, ever work out.
Work.
But the system is broken, Mike. You got young guys who are outdoing what they're getting paid, whether it's DeGrom or Conforto. What times you could give it, Judge last year, all these guys outperforming their contracts. And then when they hit free agency at 30, 31, they're getting overpaid for injury-riddled years.
If you even go that way.
Right.
And if you don't go the way, and plus, remember, when you did the drug testing and you took amphetamines out of the game, you made the game about younger players. They don't want older players now because older players don't work because they can't take amphetamines anymore. Amphetamines were bigger than steroids to this game, and it changed the game remarkably. They don't want to talk about it, but it did.
Yeah, that's a huge deal. Brian is in Long Island. Brian, you're on the Voice of New York 710 WOR.
All right, thank you very much for taking my call. Mike, it's an honor.
Thank you.
Bless your heart for coming back. It's really an honor. I've listened to you for a long time. I wanted to ask you a question about Major League Baseball and ask your opinion. Who of these teams will have the best season? The following teams: the Yankees, the Mets, the Red Sox, the Orioles, the Tampa Bay Rays, the Toronto Blue Jays.
All right, I think that's enough. But geez, you're going to list the whole ride. Sorry, Mike. I mean, I can't take it anymore.
Can we get to the West?
Yeah. Holy cow. I mean, maybe Mets, Yankees, Red Sox.
I will be in a destination the last day, the day before opening day, doing over and unders with a certain person.
I was gonna invite you on to do that.
I already have been invited with a certain person.
All right. You remember you had me do the over-unders when Dog left. I was the first one to ever do those with you.
Well, I will be doing them with...
Simmons?
No.
Where are you going? You could give us that one.
A certain person.
Dog? Oh, you're doing it. Well, you're doing it with Dog. Of course. It took me 10
the day before opening day. Sal, you can't get anything past Sal.
Yeah.
You really can't.
Some things never change.
It's like getting the sun past the rooster.
But that, honestly, I was saying before, that was the greatest thrill in my career as a listener to you guys. When Dog left, you had me do the over-unders with you. That is something.
Mets over-under 79.5. Over-under.
Come on. How do you not go over on that? I would pound the over on
Yankee 93.5. Over-under.
I'd probably go over on that. Don't you think? I mean, I know a lot has to go right to get those high numbers, but with the Yanks, they should be able to go over. Would you go over on each of those?
I'm not giving them away today. Too early.
You're definitely picking both those two and those, though?
Oh, absolutely. We'll be doing them. I'm going to be doing them the day before opening day.
But you don't always pick the locals, do you?
Oh, we'll definitely pick the Yanks and Mets.
Okay.
Absolutely.
800-321-0710.
Yeah, breaking it. You actually have commercials, Sal. I'm surprised.
Yeah, I know. Me too. 800-321-0710. Today we do. It's Sal Licata and for Pete McCarthy, joined by Mike Francesa in studio, who is going to stay, I think, to the duration of the show, right?
What time is that?
8:45.
All right. Well, I'll stay. Yeah, maybe I will. Okay.
Jerry Recco and Rutgers pregame coming up at 8:45.
Jerry, what is he doing? Rutgers?
Jerry's doing pregame. Oh, he does Rutgers basketball now, play-by-play.
Oh, he does?
Yeah.
Connor doesn't do it anymore?
No, that's a good question. I do not think so. I think, Carlin does the football, left the basketball, so Jerry left Columbia to do Rutgers. So anyway, that is coming up at 8:45. And your calls ahead, 800-321-0710, the Voice of New York, 710 WOR.
You're in the WOR Sports Zone.
In for Pete, here's Sal Licata.
Sitting in with Mike Francesa. We'll take you to 8:45 when Rutgers pregame and Jerry Recco come your way. Let's get back to the phones. Joe is in Queens. Joe, you're on the Voice of New York 710 WOR.
Yeah, hello, Mike.
Hello, Joe.
Yeah, what you think of the St. John's Duke one? That was kind of a high for St. John's.
You know, I thought they had lost. I saw Chris actually on Long Island. We were at the gas station at the same time pumping gas, and I ran into him. We were chatting when they were in the middle of that losing streak, and he said to me, "It's amazing. These are 1 or 2 possession games every game. I mean, we're this close." And then the win over Duke was such a good win, and then they did catch Villanova at the right time because Villanova had 2 starters out. But you know what? They still had to execute and play great D down the stretch, which they did in that game. And then I thought they'd beat Marquette, but right now they got a major role going, and they got a kid who's now playing out of his mind. They got a major role going, and they're playing really good defense. They're going to be fun to watch the rest of the way. They've really turned this into an interesting season now. They really have.
Shamori Pons, I believe
Pons
it
is crazy.
Right? Yeah,
I mean, at 44, he broke the record at the arena the last time out against Marquette. He's had 3 straight games, in the 30s, then the last one in the 40s. I mean, and St. John's plays good D. They really do. I mean, so they're playing very well right now. And, yeah, they caught Villanova when they had 2 starters out. But you know what? So be it. Villanova still was the number 1 team in the country on their court. I mean, that was a terrific win.
Yeah, I mean, you lose 11 straight, and then you beat Duke and Nova back-to-back. That's going to get some people's attention. Brad is in Rockland. Brad, you're on the Voice of New York, 710 WOR.
Hey, Sal, always love listening to you. Mike, I just hope, really 2 quick things. First of all, I hope your next iteration of your show, whatever you do, has some sort of 2-way call interaction.
I wouldn't have it if it didn't. I would always have that. That, to me, is part of the essence of the program. It would always have that.
And thank you for that, Mike. And really quick, I know you can't really give us too much of a hint of what your future plans are going to be, but can you imagine the crowd going nuts and the buzz that would be created if you announced this on Francesa-Con? I mean, how nuts? With anticipation, that crowd and the media would be waiting for you to announce that in a venue like that. It would be insane.
Well, you know what? Maybe you read my mind. That might happen.
When is the date?
Well,
you have a date?
We actually, we're going to do it in early March. And since I can't do anything till April anyway, we've talked about pushing it back to early April. So we may do it either right at the end of March or early April. Well, we haven't announced the date yet.
Do you plan on doing whatever it is that you're going to be doing as soon as you're legally?
It might not be April. It might be, May. I think I'll be doing it in the spring. It doesn't have to start on a firm date, but I think it'll be in the spring. There's only one thing left that I can't do after April 1st. That's it. There's only one thing. I can do anything else. So I'm pretty much freed up to do. Right now, I really can't do anything. But until April 1st. So, and I haven't done anything. This is, and I can do a show as long as I'm not being paid and I don't do it regularly. So I couldn't come back and do this tomorrow.
Right,
so,
okay.
Right. But, and the $10 you gave me is
I was going to say, you sure?
Yeah.
This is too much fun. We can't just do this once. All right, we'll come back with Mike Francesa.
You're breaking again? What are you doing?
We got to throw to the news here. You know how I have to follow the rules.
Sweep the top of the hour.
Yeah, we can't
I
here.
would do it for me.
I believe me, I would do it for you too. Mike, unless you're hiring me right now on the spot, I got to throw to the news. Here's the news. We'll be back with Mike on the other side.
Now,
you're in the WOR Sports Zone.
Filling in for Pete, here's Sal Licata.
All right, we have Mike Francesa in studio for another roughly half hour here. Let's get back to the calls. I'd love to get everybody in, get a chance to talk to Mike. Kenny is in Brooklyn. Kenny, you're on the Voice of New York, 710 WOR.
First, I want to say it's an honor to be on with Mike, and I have one question about the Yankees. And that is, do you think they need to add a starting pitcher or a position player? I look at this team and I see them as incomplete, especially second base, third base, and maybe a starter. I just wanted to get Mike's take on that.
I'm not afraid of letting the kids play the infield. You have Torres to back them up. Plus, there's a lot of talk about Walker being brought in as a utility guy who can play second, who can play first, can play pretty much anywhere on the infield, and he'd be a good fit. He's got a good bat. I think he's always been a clutch player. So I think he'd be a good addition if he's willing to play that role. Glabator's got a world of talent. We know that. I think it'll be hard to stop him. Andujar, I've heard good things about. Strong arm, home run bat. Haven't seen him. I do think, though, you hit on it. If anything is going to slow them down, listen, they can even overcome Betances being bad again. I mean, and he was bad last year. I mean, who would have thought they would go as far as they did with Betances being banned, as he basically was? The interesting thing for them is going to be, so yes to your question about they need another starting pitcher, but you know what? You can say that about everybody. Everybody always needs, you can't be too rich, too thin, or have too much starting pitching. That's all there is to it. You can always have another starting pitcher because Tanaka, you worry about him. Severino, you worry about having to save year. CC's old, so they definitely need another starting pitcher for insurance, but everybody does.
Yeah, and eventually you think they'll get one.
Right. I mean, and everybody needs one, so that goes without saying. But what I worry about with them is not even expectations. People act like they won something last year. They didn't. Okay, that's number one. Yes, they did a lot more than anybody could have expected. And what the Yankees have done is they've restored the buzz. for the first time in a very long time, the Yankees are it again. The Yankees are rock stars again. They are not just a baseball team. Now they are an event again. Okay, that's where they changed, but they haven't won anything yet. And the other thing is, I think they have some issues in terms of not only having a new manager, but also how this logjam is going to work. I don't like teams where there are not a lot of defined roles, and the Yankees don't have a lot of defined roles right now. Give me the outfield configuration. I know it's going to be Stanton, Judge, Hicks, and Gaudy for the most part. Ellsbury's going to be there, but he's going to be a hood ornament. I mean, an expensive one. You got 4 guys. What are you going to do, rotate them? Hicks got the best glove, so he plays center, but does he have to earn the job? Are you going to sit Gaudy? You're going to sit Gaudy against lefties? You're going to DH these guys? Are you going to let Sanchez DH when he doesn't start behind the plate? Where are you going to do? Rotate these guys? I don't like rotating outfielders. I want defined guys. And you know what? Gardner should be the left fielder. And they should have 3 outfielders on this team. Or the best team would have Stanton as the DH, Judge in right, Gardner in left, Hicks in center, define roles. They won't do that. And I think they should. I think they should define the roles. They can't get Ellsbury off this team. They'd have to pay the contract. No one's going to take even a piece of that contract, especially in this climate. There's no way anybody's going to take it. Even if you gave him a player, they wouldn't take that contract.
Don't you think they'll probably go with that alignment for the most part this year? I know they were going to get Sanchez some at-bats and rest him a little bit.
They say Stanton is also going to play the outfield, so I think once you start that...
Sanchez, I meant. I'm sorry.
I mean, Stanton's going to also play the outfield, so I say once you start that rotation, then you're changing everything. Because that would mean that if Stan's in right, Judge has got to go to left.
Right, which is weird.
Which is very weird, and it's a very tough left field to play at Yankee Stadium. It's a very big left field. So that's a problem. And Gardner's a Gold Glove in that left field. I don't care if he gets one, he's still a Gold Glove player out there. Gardner's role is going to be very interesting for me. Ellsbury doesn't have a role. Hicks, to me, has to prove he can hit. We know he can field. He's got to prove he can hit. So I would like to see them define roles on this team. They have too many. Well, they could play this guy. They could play that guy. When you look at 3 or 4 positions and you can't tell me who's the everyday player at that spot, that should worry you a little bit.
If you have 2 quarterbacks, you have no quarterback. Right. But isn't that the way the sport has evolved now, Mike? Everybody wants matchups and platoons at every position.
Nothing's like quarterbacks. So, listen, Stan and Judge are going to hit home runs. I don't care what they play. They're going to hit home runs.
Right.
They might stink in the outfield. They're going to still hit home runs. Right. So that's going to be without give. 2 things the Yankees can count on this year. They're going to hit 240 home runs or more. They're also going to set a record for strikeouts because they got about 4 guys who are going to strike out over 150 times. They got 2 who could strike out 200 times. They are going to strike out a lot.
Let's go to Vinny in Marlboro. Vinny, you're on the Voice of New York 710 WOR.
Hey, Sal and Mike. How are you?
What's
Mike,
up?
What's really missed, Mike, is your humor. Your one-liners, like the one you said about the Mets before, priceless.
Thank you. Appreciate it. What's up?
Anyway, what's your thoughts about the Josh McDaniel debacle and also the Giants' new hire today, their offensive coordinator?
You know, I think that the Shula, I don't know the Shermer-Shula relationship, how deep it goes. I think that's a road hire more than anything else. It's sure not anything with any imagination. But Sherman's going to be the offensive coach anyway, so I don't think it's as important as it would normally be. So I think Sherman's influence his fingerprints are going to be all over the offense anyway. So it doesn't really matter from that standpoint. As far as what was the other one he asked me? He asked me about Schuler, and he asked me one other one.
McDaniels?
Oh, McDaniel.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot more going on in New England than anybody wants to talk about. And I think what has happened is Kraft decided, he liked playing with the Colts, so he loved doing that. He has a long memory. He got the Colts back.
The whole Deflategate stuff. Yeah.
Number one, especially since they had already signed assistants, which was unbelievable.
How do you
see the league screwed the whole thing
How
up?
could
That
you
should not be
possibly do
legal.
that?
That should not be legal, no less.
You sign assistants without signing the head coach?
Ridiculous. It's just a messed up system, number one. So he got revenge on the Colts that way, but that's because the Colt owner's a fool, which we all know. Number two, nobody knows if Luck is healthy or not. They can't get any real information about that. But I think what happened here is Kraft wanted his insurance policy that he had his coach of the future, and he has him in McDaniel. And I think McDaniel decided that if he knows that he can get that job full-time, and he probably got some information about Luck he didn't like, plus he also got a considerable commitment that he will be the next coach of the Pats whenever Belichick is through. And I think Belichick is getting to a point where we're seeing the end for this reason. The worst thing that is happening to him is anything that can happen to a head coach is happening to him right now. He's becoming human. And when you do that and you become civilized, he starts doing photo layouts now, in Nantucket Magazine. He's actually going out and enjoying himself. He's at a place in his life where he's socializing. He's doing stuff like that. He's out and about. You see that. Once you do that and you're not locked up anymore in the room with the tapes, it's over. And I think we're coming to the end.
Wow.
Maybe a year, 2 years. I think we're coming to the end.
And McDaniels better be careful. You never want to be the guy to replace the guy. Go somewhere else and do your own thing.
That's never easy. You always want to be the guy to replace the guy who replaced the guy.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Ryan is in Hoboken.
That goes for
right?
any occupation.
I know what you're getting at. That's Ryan in Hoboken on the Voice of New York 710 WOR.
Hey, Sal, Mike, how you guys doing?
What's happening?
Mike, great to hear your voice, man.
Thank you.
Looking forward to Francesa-Con, and we're really going to miss you down at Bar A, too, man. Was just trying to get your perspective, Mike, on the Adrian Gonzalez deal. I was a little surprised when they signed him initially, just because at the end of last year, I just figured, Dom Smith, they were just going to send him out pretty much every day this year. I'm just kind of curious if the Adrian Gonzalez sign was more of a mentorship for Dom Smith, or if because you said earlier too, Mike, with this club, it's all about developing culture and everything. So I'm not really sure how you're developing culture with a guy that's going on his 15th year in the majors, and for a $500,000 contract is really benefiting the club at this point.
I think he's just an insurance policy. There's nothing more. If they have to rely on him, they will. Remember, if Conforto is healthy, he could wind up playing first base. So Bruce could wind up playing first base. So that's a possibility. So that's in the cards also. So Smith has got to do his job and see if he can somehow get back in their good graces. He clearly didn't impress anybody last year. Gonzalez gives them an insurance policy, and none of us are going to be surprised if he turns around, has a good spring, and is ready to go. If he is, you play him. Get as much out of him if you can. If you get 2 months out of him, fine. If you get 3 months out of him, fine. I think eventually they hope they move their outfield around to where Conforto's in center field, and they can spare Bruce if they want and put him at first base. I think that's a possibility. But I think the Mets should also invest in another bat, get another power bat. They're going to come very cheap come late March. And I think this year, no matter what team you are, you have to use this market and this glut of free agents to your advantage and sign a couple of guys that you didn't expect to sign. I do know this. The Mets have some money to play with. There's more money there if they want to use it. They have not reached the bottom of the wallet yet.
You think they go offense, though, or you think they'd add, let's say a Lance Lynn if he comes back to the...
I think they could do either based on how things swing, but I think they do have a move or two in them financially if they see what they want.
They'd be foolish not to in this market. John is in Deacon. John, you're on the Voice of New York, 710 WOR.
Hey, guys. How are you?
Good. What's happening?
All right. 2 quickies. I know you got a lot of people waiting. Vikings, do they franchise Keenum for $23 million, or do they enter into the Cousins sweepstakes? Number 1. Number 2, do the Jets go all in and trade up for number 1 to get their quarterback?
If the Jets, and this goes for the Giants, it goes for the Jets. If they believe they have a complete conviction, and that means they can't be wrong, because they're wrong, it costs them their job. If they believe the guy is there, who is there to be their quarterback for the next 15 years, they pull the trigger. To do anything else when you're in this position, number 1, you don't expect to be there again. If you think you're going to be back picking that high again, you know what? Go get another job. If you believe, and this is for the Giants too, I know people are saying take a lineman, take a running back. Don't take a running back at 2, please. If you have a quarterback that you believe in, take him. If you don't, trade down. Let someone else take the quarterback, because in this draft, quarterbacks are going off the board 1, 2, 3.
Would you go if you're the Jets? Go all in on Cousins? $30 million a year? You would not.
I believe Cousins is overpriced. and I don't think he's a winning quarterback. I think he's a stat guy. I don't believe in him.
One more segment with Mike, 800-321-0710, the number to call. It's the Sports Zone. Sal Licata in for Pete McCarthy on the Voice of New York, 710 WOR.
You're in the WOR Sports Zone.
In for Pete, here's Sal Licata.
Now, normally at 8:20, we do this segment called What's Worse? I mean, it's no Sal special, Mike, but Baboots gets his airtime here, and he has a question for you. He's been ripping on the Eagles.
What's worse?
He's a bit, yeah, not much in this segment, but Baboots has been ripping on
Let's hear from Baboots.
He's been ripping on the Eagles.
He texts me every day for a month for you to do this.
Yeah, no, I know.
He was on top of it every day.
I said he did a great job, so you do deserve credit, Baboots, for booking the biggest guest we could get. Anyway, go ahead, give your piece to Mike.
Well, it's very simple. Yay or nay on the Jason Kelsey WWE-like speech that he gave last week?
Should have stayed home, the jerk.
Yes, you're on my team. Thank you, Mike.
I didn't even think you saw it, Mike.
Why is it that I have to be in my car when these guys win championships and they decide that they are going to grace the audience with this profanity-laced stupidity? You got to turn it off. Your kids can't even listen to it. He sounded like a total moron. How about going up there and being a champion and acting like a champion and not acting like a total moron? I mean, I turn that stuff off. I've seen LeBron James do that. Now I've seen him do that. You know what? It's not the time or place. You ever hear about winning like a champion? It was embarrassing.
I'm shocked.
Somebody should have taken a hook and pulled him off.
And he looked like the right outfit for having a hook pulling him off. I'm shocked you even paid attention to that. I would have bet that you didn't see or listen to it.
I turned it off.
Okay.
I was in the car and I heard it, and people were replaying it like it was the greatest thing in the world. How dumb are you to replay that? I mean, I wouldn't give that 1 second airtime. That's embarrassing.
Yeah,
that's not the place or the time to do it. You got kids who take off from school. You got families who, this is a life experience for them to be at a parade for a Super Bowl for a city, and you get up there and go on to a 15-minute profanity-laced tirade. It's ridiculous.
It is.
Nobody
Philly.
wants to hear that. If I were the owner of the team, I'd cut him.
It is Philly, and those people do love that type of behavior down there. Brad is in Alpine. Brad, you're on the Voice of New York, 710 WOR. What's up, Brad? Okay, Brad is not there. For Mark in Connecticut, you're on the Voice of New York, 710 WOR.
All right, Mike, listen, it's awesome to hear your voice again. You have no idea how difficult it was to go through the whole playoff season with all the wild finishes and not to be able to hear you the next Monday, to hear you break down the game. So
I appreciate it.
Good to hear you back. We're chomping at the bit.
Thank you.
Back on the air in one way or another.
Thank you.
A little NFL football. I want your thoughts on this guy Peterson. He comes in as a first-year coach. He loses an MVP quarterback. He has to make these adjustments on the fly 2 or 3 weeks before the playoffs, and he out-coaches the best coach in NFL history, Belichick. Remarkable story. And my question to you, this whole Butler situation, I haven't heard your thoughts.
I don't know what it is, but no one's gotten to the bottom of it yet. I don't understand it. None of it makes sense. Their statement that they were a better team without him doesn't make sense. The penalties don't make sense. None of it makes sense where you would bench a guy who was number 2 in defensive snaps played this year for the Super Bowl. I don't get it. I don't understand it. There's a story there, but I don't know what it is, so I'm not going to tell you I do because I don't. But there definitely is a story there. As far as the Eagles and their head coach, there was a ranking in the middle of the season that I saw, and he was ranked the worst head coach in the league by people. Here's a guy who wasn't their first choice. Remember.
Yeah, they wanted Ben McAdoo.
They wasn't even near their first choice. And it just shows you sometimes, what you get. Sometimes it's not the guy, that you think that you had to get. Sometimes it shows you that you don't know which assistant is just going to have everything come together for him. But the star of this, and I give the coach great credit. He had them prepared, and he was very aggressive, which you have to be. But Foles' performance from the Minnesota game. Now he was bad in the Atlanta game. He was terrible before that. But the Minnesota game and then the Super Bowl, he played brilliantly. But the Eagles' hero was their personnel staff and their general manager because they went and loaded that team with absolute stud performers. Their receivers played brilliantly. Their running backs played brilliantly. Their offensive line did an unbelievable job. Their pass rush was there when it was needed. They went and filled holes and came up with some incredible moves to bring guys in and really put together a tremendous team very quickly. They deserve a lot of credit for what they did. I mean, from a personnel standpoint, did an utterly brilliant job with that team.
Yeah, hard to believe that they won it without Wentz, obviously, in the postseason. You think the Eagles have staying power to be a little bit of a dynasty here, or you think the way the NFL is now?
I think it's very hard to do that because it's designed to chip away at a championship. And that's why what the Pats have done is remarkable, because everything is designed to chip away. You lose coaches, you lose players. Players want to win championships. As soon as they do, they want to get paid. They want to do one or the other. When they win championships early, they want to get paid. When they don't win championships, they go and go on a quest for the championship. When they've been paid, they always are looking for one or the other. And it's never the same once you win. I thought the most talented team this year was Atlanta. I think Atlanta would have beaten the Pats in the Super Bowl. They should have beaten the Eagles. Their play calling all year was abominable.
You think they would? Well, their coach, Mike Dan Quinn, stinks.
They should. Their head coach is bad in big games. He gets them ready, but he's terrible in the big game. Their offensive coordinator was a joke. And again,
how are they sticking with Sarkisian?
How they don't score, first and goal, how they don't score at the end of that game is ridiculous with Julio Jones there, which is unbelievable.
Goodness. How about the play calling
there? They were
the
best team. I thought they were the best team all year. I thought they were going to win the Super Bowl all year. I thought it was going to be Atlanta and New England all year, and I thought they would beat the Eagles.
You think they would have beat the Vikings in Minnesota?
I think that would have been the hard game.
Or New Orleans for that. Well, it turns out it would have been the Vikings.
They would. I don't know if they would have beaten the Vikings, but if they did, they would have definitely beaten the Pats because the Pat defense wouldn't have been able to handle them. I mean, I thought they were the best team all year physically, but they just never got the offense clicking the whole season.
Yeah, and don't you think that that's the offensive coordinator? I mean, Matt Ryan's a good quarterback at this point.
And what they said to me was, and I know a lot of guys there, we never got the trains running properly all year. We have the trains, we just never got them running. Well, you know what? That's a bad job.
And how long do you think they stick with with Dan Quinn at head coach there? One more year? And the only way they can make up for the 28-3 disaster, Mike, is being the first team ever to win a Super Bowl in your home stadium. That's next year. Outside of that, how do you recover?
They have the people to do that. They have the personnel. I think that team has one more year of shelf life, and I think they can win it next year. And next year has to be their year. Otherwise, it's over for them as a group.
Nothing better than talking Falcons football with Mike Francesa. I used to call in the Sunday show, Sal from Ronkonkoma, and Mike, I got to thank you. I can't thank you enough. It's an honor to have you in studio taking call. You're welcome to come back anytime. So the big thing, I mean, obviously Cespedes, no golf, but for you personally, you'll be doing the over-unders for baseball before the season starts with Dog on Sirius.
Yeah, someday before the season opens.
And you will announce your next move.
Probably in early April, or right around there. We're talking about doing a Francesa-Con. We haven't picked a date yet. Maybe we'll do one late March or early April, and maybe we'll announce something there. So we'll see what happens. But it's nice talking to everybody again. Sal, thank you for having me in. I appreciate it. And I hope everybody has a